trailing at the break with their starting QB unable to go in the second half. Backup Bo Pribula steps in and guides the Nittany Lions to a gutsy road W.
Right when the half started, I got the word, and it's just locked in from there, and just try to keep the offense flowing.
Of course, the offense is able to settle in with the lead courtesy of Jalen Reed's pick six that silences the primetime Camp Randall crowd.
I heard the crowd go from high to, and I felt every moment of an interception. It was a great place.
Next up is a top 5 battle with the Buckeyes in Beaver Stadium. We map out a path to victory and discuss where to attack a potentially vulnerable Ohio State defense. This is Nittany Game Week. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nittany Game Week. I'm Todd Sadowski alongside former Nittany Lions coaches Jay Paterno and Tom Bradley. Composed at Camp Randall. Things a little bleak at halftime. The teams deal with some key injuries and still leaves the Badger State with a perfect 7-0 record.
That's all that matters at the end of the day. But I think, Bo Pribula came in and really that changed them offensively. I mean, they became a much more difficult team to defend, and the defense made the play to turn the game.
There's no style points. You won the game. They went out. They did what they had to do. Get in plane, get home, get ready for the next one.
In a difficult setting at
Absolutely.
night at Camp Randall. It's backup Bo to the rescue for the offense. The defense delivers a critical turnover that turns into points. And there's a closeness with this group that could lead to a very special season. We kick things off with our opening drive. Similar situation a few years ago at Iowa when Sean Clifford is hurt. The backup struggles to execute a silent count against the Hawkeyes. Drew Aller injures his knee at the end of the first half and delivers the bad news to Coach Franklin. Didn't think he was mobile enough to go. In steps redshirt sophomore Bo Pribula to take the reins.
Well, I think it was critical. You got a guy, we had a situation at 08 at Ohio State where, we had a backup come in and make the plays. I mean, you got to have those guys ready to go. He clearly prepares as though he's going to be a starter every week, and it really showed in how well he played.
He does. And one thing about these backups, when they come in, I like how the team rallies around them. Your guys have to rally around you, too. It's not just you doing it by yourself. Everybody knows, hey, we've got a different guy in here now. We've all got to get on it.
Key thing, players and coaches rallied around it because Coach Kodolnicki called a different game with Bo in there.
And I think when you look at Bo, he was, in the first half, Drew got a little indecisive late in that half. Wisconsin was doing some things defensively. Bo was much more decisive in the pass game than Drew had been in the first half, and that's something to keep an eye on as we go.
Tough spot for Bo. It helps he's seen significant time at quarterback prior to the game. His message is consistent. He's always ready when needed. In this situation, Drew was his biggest cheerleader.
Hold it down, he's a great supporter. He always has my back as well, and just like, we always have each other's back. So, like I said, whether that's we're both on the field at the same time or, I take over for him when he needs it.
Here's Bo Pribula in a quarterback battle, waiting for his number to be called, and when his number's called, is able to capitalize and take advantage of it.
He finishes 11 of 13 and the one score. Will be interesting to see how much Bo plays against Ohio State.
Everyone talks about the explosive plays on offense, Tom, but it only took one play from the defense to turn this thing around, Tom.
Why is it always the defense that has to turn things around? Let's rely on the offense.
Well, I can tell you, going back to Ohio State in 02, we had a situation where we were backed up just like Wisconsin was. And as soon as they got backed up, I'm watching him going, whatever you do, just run the ball and punt it and get out of here if you're Wisconsin, but thankfully they didn't.
Tom, it's the pick six. Jalen Reed, you talked to your secondary about, hey, we need a play from you guys. We need a turnover, and he delivers the game-changing play.
I was trying to think back how many games you lose when you do get a pick six. Not very many.
No.
Those are huge turnaround plays when you get them. They really are. They change the whole tempo of everything that's been going on.
Timing was perfect, and I love the way Jalen Reed described the moment as a hush fell over the crowd at Camp Randall.
Definitely felt it when I caught the pick. I heard the crowd go from high to, and I felt every moment of an interception. It was a great play. So you got to keep stacking weeks and keep getting better. We're going to be good.
And check this out. It's family first for Jalen. He gives his pick six ball directly to his mom, but they need it back. But there is a happy ending. Jalen said he made sure he was able to keep it at the end of the game. And at the halfway point, I asked you guys about the intangibles necessary for a team to have a special season. Character matters. That leads to character wins, like the one against the Badgers. Unselfish attitude, high IQ plays, good coaching decisions. It all came together at Camp Randall in the second half.
The most important thing in this era of college football is that you sell people on the team concept when it could be so individualistic. You saw that with Michigan last year, and we'll see what happens this week against Ohio State.
Well, you know, one of the things as a coach, you always say the best player on the team is the team. And when you get your guys to believe in that and everybody chips in to go, things are going to be pretty good.
Yeah, this year's squad is very self-aware. They understand that was a game that could have slipped away.
All that matters is we scratched and clawed and did everything we could to get the win. So we always say it every week. No matter what, we got to leave. We got to figure out how to leave that place with a win, and that's what we did. So that's all that matters. But our team showed a lot of resilience and maturity today.
Finding a way to win sounds like a good plan for this week's monster matchup with the Buckeyes. But before we turn the page completely to Ohio State, I want to show you this unique feature in Madison. They have a merchandise store open to the public in Camp Randall, Bucky's Locker Room. And as you shop, you can also walk out onto their patio, which gives you a view inside the stadium. Very cool. Fans from both teams get a chance to see inside, even when it's not on game day. Time to take a break. When we come back, our focus shifts to Ohio State. Our coaches show us the tape and carve out a path to victory over the Nittany Lions' nemesis. Nittany Game Week returns after this.
Roadmap to Victory is sponsored by the R&R family of companies.
Welcome back to Nittany Game Week. It feels like they are due. It's been 8 long years since the blocked field goal in Beaver Stadium. The team is certainly capable. The fans will do their part. Well, and the students, they're primed to storm the field. Coach Bradley, Coach Paterno, before anyone even dares talk about a potential celebration, we have to dissect the execution it will take to beat the number 4 team in the country.
And I think this is, as you said, Todd, it feels like they're due, and there may be a couple things, advantages, but this is a true heavyweight fight. This is strength against strength. Ohio State's offense, one of the best in the country. Penn State's defense, one of the best in the country. But let's take a look at some of the people to watch on that offense. You got some big-time players at wideout. You got some big-time players at running back. Don't ignore the tight end. But the left side of the offensive line for Ohio State in pass protection is going to be something to keep an eye on as we go. And let's talk about that. Their offensive tackle got hurt against Oregon. He's out for the year. His backup came in against Nebraska, struggled. They moved the guard out, but we'll see whether they move the other tackle over. But for these guys, when you play them, they've got a patient running back with speed. They've got safeties safety's going to have to make tackle. Their wideouts blocked. But watch that left side, because here, they're all healthy, and he makes a great block against Wisconsin. Patience.
Don't be surprised if they might flip-flop those guys, too.
Yeah, I think you may get your 2 best tackles on the field, however they are. Henderson did not play against Penn State last year. Watch for his impact on the game. Now, let's talk about the wideouts. Everybody talks about Ohio State's wideouts. So number 1, you got to look at and say, can we cover number 4 or number 2 one-on-one? Can you do that? Nebraska is putting safety help on both guys there. So can you stop the run game with your front 5 or 6 guys? That's the next question. And can you get to the quarterback with the blitz? And can you cover number 17? But what's the most important factor there, Tom?
You just ask a lot of questions.
Right, but you know which one's the most important. Can you get to the quarterback?
Can you get to the quarterback with 4?
Yeah, because if he can get there and set up and throw the ball down the field, it's going to be a long day.
Exactly. You need to be able to get the pressure with the front 4 and make him think a little bit where get those happy feet going, right?
Yep. And here Nebraska doesn't get there, and they get one-on-one outside with 17. Now let's talk about the play-action pass stuff. A lot of play-action pass stuff off that run game. Here you're going to see they fake the run. That's number 1. Do the linebackers play the run? The quarterback's looking at that. Now, you got a wideout screen over here. They're going to fake the wideout screen. Do they play the wideout screen? Yes. Now he's going to find the tight end. Tom, the tight end in this game for Ohio State he's got a lot of catches the last couple weeks.
It's one of the things that we've been talking about for a while. maybe a lot of tight end catches this week by both teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And Oregon made some adjustments to get to those guys outside, and it opened the tight end up. In the last 3 weeks, he's been hurt, but he's had 8 catches the last 3 games. Now, let's talk about the other side, another heavyweight fight. Look at the numbers for the Ohio State defense. Look at the numbers for the Penn State offense. You're talking about 2 of the best units of their kind in the country. And specifically in the Ohio State defense, let's take a look at some people that you want to take a look at. There are 3 safeties to watch. Ransom has had some injury issues, but they're big safeties, 205, 235, 210. Burke, number 10, is their best corner. Simon, the linebacker, watch him, number 0, really good cover guy with that Nick Singleton in the pass game stuff. But let's talk about that 3 safety defense, Tom. That really gives you flexibility to blitz, doesn't it?
It sure does. And let's just talk about the one thing you brought up is how big some of those safeties are. They're not afraid to come down here and fight it out inside the box.
No question. Here, they invite you to run the ball this way. They bring him off the edge in the corner stunt, which you used to love, and slant that way, and they force the cutback, and there they are to make the tackle. Does a really nice job, that corner off the blitz. They can tackle. Now, let's talk about the key. With those 3 safeties involved inside, can you beat their corners one-on-one time? You know that's the most important thing. And I was at the Oregon game live, saw the speed that Oregon had at wideout. This play started to change the game for the Ohio State Buckeye defense because he got by him on a double move.
That's where this game's going to be played. There's going to be a lot of one-on-one outside. And if they can make it happen, if Penn State can beat them out there,
changes the whole game.
Changes the whole game.
No question. Now, to get to the quarterback, they like to blitz. Here, Oregon gets you an empty set. They show 6 blitzers. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys to block 6. But watch what happens, Tom. You used to like to do this. They drop 2 guys out. And now, because they've identified the protection that way, this guy's going to end up free, even though there's only 4 blitzers coming, Tom.
yes, and we used this stunt a lot back in the day.
Yeah, and here, that guy thinks he knows he's got to throw hot. When they drop the guys underneath, they take away the hot throws, and that's the key to try and make him hesitate. If they can get to the quarterback, that'll be a long day for Penn State. Now, let's talk about specifically about getting to the quarterback. Number 44, JT Tuimoloau, has played very well against Penn State the last 2 years. 7 tackles, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, 2 interceptions, 1 of which was a pick 6, 2 pass deflections, and 4 tackles for losses. Literally a one-man wrecking crew. When he announced he was coming back, Larry Johnson, who we coached with, coaches the D-line at Ohio State, I texted him and said, I think 44 is ready to go to the pros. Please send him. And Larry said he's not going anywhere.
Thanks, coaches. There's a ton of pressure on Ohio State coach Ryan Day. The Buckeyes have a rough schedule and no room for error. A second loss in the Big Ten likely keeps them out of the conference championship. Coach Day understands the challenge in front of his team.
Just like the Oregon game was, this game's been, circled on our schedule. We know what's at stake here. So we're going to have a great week of practice, great energy in practice, and we're going to go into that environment and go, finish the way that, we didn't have an opportunity or we didn't do 2 weeks ago. And so now we have another opportunity to go do that in this game. So now we got to go finish and win the game in the 4th quarter.
His quarterback is properly motivated. Will Howard played his high school ball at Downingtown West in the Philly suburbs. He said he grew up a Penn State fan, always wanted to be a Nittany Lion, and at it, I guess I wasn't good enough. We'll find out. There's been a long line of successful head coaches in Columbus. Our Impact interview guest is certainly one of them. Jim Tressel joins us next as we talk about the high expectations when you lead the Buckeyes and the rivalry between the blue and white versus the scarlet and gray. More Nittany Game Week coming up.
Impact Interview is sponsored by the Pocono Mountains, where small-town charm meets big adventures. Book your trip today by visiting PoconoMountains.com.
Welcome back to Nittany Game Week. It is Ohio State week, and our Impact interview guest is one of the all-time Buckeye greats. We know what really matters in that world, so we'll start with the 9-1 record against the team up north, 5-time national champion. When you combine his work at Youngstown State and Ohio State, Hall of Fame coach Jim Tressel, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate the time.
And my honor to be here. This is a big week, and I couldn't be more excited to be with 2 of my colleagues, Tom Bradley and Jay Paterno, 2 of the best.
Well, I get to be with them every week. I agree with you there, Coach. And we call this the Impact Interview. And let's start with your impact off the field. You and your wife, Ellen, have been very philanthropic, donating money to benefit libraries, a cancer center, and facilities at both Ohio State and Youngstown State, where you actually served as the president for a few years. How important is it for coaches to engage universities in that way to set a standard for other alumni to follow?
Well, we think it's so important. And we were fortunate that we had great role models when it came to that. You know, Jay and Sue Paterno, or not Jay, Joe and Sue Paterno, amazing things that they did on that Penn State campus. And they kind of set the stage for other people to understand the importance of having an attitude of gratitude and paying forward and making a difference where you are. And Woody and Ann Hayes, extraordinary at Ohio State. My mom and dad, the same at Baldwin Wallace. We had great role models, and you know, it's so important. We would tell our players all the time, you know, you're fortunate with the blessings that you've had. It's your responsibility to make a difference and care for others, and sometimes it's in the form of philanthropy.
Jim, you know, in all the years we played you, every year the team that had the most rushing yards won the Penn State-Ohio State matchup. Lately, some of it's been about quarterback play. How do you see this one playing out Saturday?
You know, I still think that that's the key. The two measurables in my mind that will never go away, because the game of football is a physical game, is how many rushing yards are you going to get and what's the turnover margin going to be? You know, you can't give great teams the football. So the defenses that get takeaways, they're going to really make a difference for their team. But those rushing yards, and I think back to our games, and Tom Bradley, I remember his stacked blitz. I still have nightmares trying to run the football into his stacked blitz and trying to eke out a yard or two. And in fact, I remember one time on a 4th and 1, we tried a quarterback sneak and fumbled the doggone ball and ended up the Nittany beat us because we couldn't get a yard. And so rushing the football, even though we have this new passing game and so forth, and you have to throw it. We want to throw it. But if you can win in the trenches and you can take care of the football, that's how you progress.
Coach, you know how tough it can be to play at Penn State in a big game like this, especially with that crowd. What are some of the keys for Ohio State to handle that noise and get settled in after the initial emotions, start to stabilize?
Now, the first thing is I'm glad it's not in the evening, because those whiteouts, especially for your young players, the older guys maybe that had been through a whiteout kind of enjoyed it and liked it and couldn't wait. The young guys, their eyeballs were popping out of their head. They couldn't think. They made missed assignments, whatever. So I'm glad it's at noon. But Penn State, Camp Randall, Wisconsin, two of the hardest places. You have to work on, silent snap count. You have to remind your folks that when the momentum is swinging the Nittany Lions way or the Badgers way, you're going to have to keep your poise, because it's loud. It's you can feel the electricity and the energy and so forth. And so it's one more tough situation, along with the great players Penn State always has. That home crowd is clearly one of their advantages, and you got to handle it.
It seems like no matter what Ryan Day does, many Ohio State fans just can find fault somewhere, and those expectations are so sky high when it comes to the Buckeyes. Having been in that seat, how would you assess how Ryan has done and how important this year has become for the program?
I'm a real Ryan Day fan. I mean, I think he's a great young man. He's done a great job putting a staff together and an outstanding roster together. He cares about the community. He's made a difference. His leadership on the mental health stage has been, well documented in Columbus and beyond. And so, I think he's a great one.
Back-to-back Hall of Famers with Barry Alvarez and Jim Tressel. Really appreciate Coach's time. We need to step aside from the TV show for a quick break. Make sure you go to NittanyGameWeek.com for the entire conversation with Coach Tressel, along with other web-exclusive content like our depth chart and Nittany Game Week podcast. Plenty more to come, including our scrap medal. He's ready when needed. Great attitude and excellent preparation leads to stellar play. Tom offers up his thoughts on our weekly winner. We're heading into the final minutes on Nittany Game Week.
Scrap Metal is sponsored by the We Are Inn, voted #1 game day restaurant in Center County. Follow us on Facebook and visit thewearein.com or call for dinner or room reservations.
Time to hand out the scrap medal. This one goes against the grain for a former defensive coordinator like Tom. It is a quarterback.
And I will say this, we don't even have to say his last name anymore. It's just he's known as Bo. What he did the other night, fantastic to come in here and do that. Hey, he's a Central York High School grad, redshirt sophomore that's always ready to go when his number is called. He brings a unique skill set to the position that makes it difficult on the defensive coaches. Hey, Bo was 11 for 13 with the touchdown pass, rushed the ball 6 times for 28 more yards, showed great leadership and poise in a very difficult spot.
Last week's question was, when was the last time a top 10 Penn State team went into Camp Randall? And what was the result? The 2008 team won 48-7. Mike Navecki from York, PA is our winner. Now, this week's question. Penn State has started a quarterback from Ohio against Ohio State for the past 5 years. When was the last time a Penn State starting quarterback from Ohio started a QB in a Penn State win over the Buckeyes?
All right, Nittany Game Week, much more than a television show. Make sure you check out our depth chart at nittanygameweek.com. The depth chart, a collection of businesses that support the show and provide our viewers with places to eat, travel, and shop, or professional services owned and operated by people with a special connection to Penn State. It's always more convenient when you can find everything in one place. For us, that location is nittanygameweek.com. Watch full episodes after they air from this year or previous seasons, impact interviews, and other web-exclusive content like the Nittany Game Week podcast. It's all waiting for you to consume at nittanygameweek.com. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Penn State pride is going to be on display against Ohio State at Beaver Stadium, so make sure you share it with us and submit your pride picks. For Jay and Tom, I'm Todd. Thanks so much for watching Nittany Game Week. We'll see you next time.